Oh yeah, feeling good. I wanted to be doing the jazz fingers there. That was great. Thank you, Juliet. Well, I'd like to introduce today's guest speaker. It's always a bit of a joke, right? But I enjoy doing this where I get to put together some thoughts. And today, November 13th, we just had Veterans Day. And so it's always important because this month's theme is about home. And so you mentioned freedom, and we heard about the harvest time. If it weren't for our veterans who helped protect our freedoms and protect our home, we probably wouldn't be sitting here in the Centers for Spiritual Living Prescott. So if any of you are veterans, would you stand? How about if you're the husband or a wife of a veteran? The child, the daughter, the son of a veteran. Because what we realize is it takes a community to support the veterans. So thank you all. Because we probably all know and have been in the vicinity of veterans. And it takes a certain kind of courage to be able to say, my home is so worth it that I'm going to risk my life. My home is important to me, to my future, to my family's future. And so today, when we talk about home, and during this holiday season that's coming up, some of us will possibly visit our old homes, or we'll invite some of our old family back to us for this Thanksgiving holiday season. And I don't know about you, but when I gather with my 6 siblings, there is a tendency to fall into some old patterns. Some of them aren't always pretty, because when we were smaller, the world looked a lot different than it does today after having some time pass. And so it's interesting to see that and feel it and notice it. So that song, it's a new day, it's a new dawn. We can start our family story all over again and talk about our home in a whole new way. Every day is a new opportunity. But no matter the circumstances of your early life as a toddler, a child, growing up, it still has an imprint on us that can surprise us. It can come back sometimes. I know for me, every once in a while, something will come up and go, where did that come from? And then I'll remember, oh, that's right. I remember hearing that over and over again. Have you ever found yourself saying something, you say, oh man, that's my dad's voice, or that's my mother's voice, right? It happens. Even though we said, well, I'm going to do it differently. I know better. And so these old roots that we formed in the early part of our life, these roots are strong and they're deep, but they're oftentimes hidden from us, aren't they? We don't see them every day. They don't seem to be attached to our feet, not like plants. And so even if we thought we've moved on or grown up, sometimes they come up unsolicited. So you remember the stories that you've seen, and you've probably seen them stitched on walls. Home, sweet home. There's no place like home. And then Dorothy clicks her heels 3 times. So until we're able to compare with others, we think, man, our family must be the only one that bickers. It's not like, the family things, Doris Day or Father Knows Best. Man, they have a great life. What's going on? But then later on, maybe high school or college, you realize that everyone tells these stories and you go, oh, we're not alone. We all have families, we all have homes, and we all had lives that happened. So the great author and poet Maya Angelou wrote in her book, and I love the title of the book, All God's Children Need Traveling Shoes. Isn't that the truth? She said, the ache for home lives in all of us. That ache for home. Maybe not the home that you left, but the home that you've always wanted, the home that is right where that heart is, where home sweet home is. She went on to say, the safe place where we can go just as we are and not be questioned. Well, not be questioned in a negative way, because, of course, we should all expect a little questioning. And home, that safe place, feels really good, doesn't it? Kind of go, oh, I'm home. So there is a longing for that identifying with and the feeling of the concept, or at least the idea of home. And some have said, upon spending time here at the center, they said, oh, I feel like I've come home. Oh, that just makes me feel so good. It makes a smile come to my face, because I think that's precisely what we're trying to do here, is create a community that feels like home. A place where I can be me, and you can be you, and I don't have to come up to you and say, cut that out. And you don't have to come up to me and say, who do you think yous are? Because we all know whose we are. We are, in fact, the daughters and sons of Spirit, of that great universe, the one that is longing to live life. And this is a great place to do it. So, metaphorically, home is both holy, H-O-L-Y, and wholly our own, wholly true. And it's known and familiar. It's heart-filled, it's a safe space, and we are fully free to be our unvarnished self. So that song that says, how could anyone ever tell you you are less than beautiful? But I'll guarantee you, when you're a kid and you do something wrong, your parents probably said something that made you feel less than beautiful and less than wanted. In that moment, they sometimes would catch themselves and say, no, it's not you, it's just did. But of course, as a child, it's sometimes difficult to differentiate those two things, right? And so we can take that little story or a snippet and we can replay it over and over and over in our heads. And it's the place at home where the human journey typically begins and oftentimes ends. It's sort of the hero's journey of our lifetime that we'll always have an experience of at some point, where we get to notice what we have, reach out into the world, and then hopefully make it back home to notice, wow, I've really changed. I've grown up. I've grown into who I want to be. So my own parents admitted that they were novices. When I was born, my mother was 21, and she said, I'm winging it. And she admitted it. Now, she had a mother and a mother-in-law. Her mother was a dead ringer for Hazel. I don't know if any of you know that old TV show. And her name was Hazel. And so she was, like my other grandmother, a daughter of the Depression. But they both had two extremely different ways of dealing with it. Grandma Hazel kept a refrigerator stocked with so much food, they were never going to run out. However, anytime you went over there, you had to go to the very back of the refrigerator, throw a bunch of stuff out, because it's not going to get eaten. There's no way. My other grandmother, which we didn't call Hazel, we called her Grandma Haass, she kept a very austere home, but she loved to can and make bread and all of these things. And she lived to be 98 on her own in Wyoming. And so she had a very different growing up than my Grandma Hazel, who had lived in sunny, warm Southern California. Two different worlds. Two different experiences of how the world is around her. Now, my Grandma Haass believed in spare the rod, spoil the child. Well, my father, her son, one of her sons, learned that lesson very well. He didn't use a rod, he used a belt, but the same thing. And we didn't understand it very well, right? Growing up as kids, this hurts me more than it hurts you. How is that possible? But after his death, we found a letter, and we realized, oh my gosh, because he wrote to his oldest brother, Tom, who was already a Marine by this time, saying, would you stop Jon from beating me? That's his other brother, who is about 10 years older than him, because Mother can't stop him. And we realized, oh, that's where he learned that. And his Uncle John, a big man, my dad was 6 foot, Uncle John 6'2", Uncle Tom 6'5". So as the runt of the litter, my dad got beat sometimes with a 2x4, according to the letter. And so we thought, wow, that is a tough thing. So no wonder a belt's just, that's not that bad. Ernest Holmes says we are all carrying the negative experiences of our past into the future. We're going to carry the negative things into the future until what? Until we can disconnect that old story, and in Science of Mind, we say we can. On a new day, on a new dawn, we can change our thinking and change our life. We don't have to keep playing those old tapes. Yay. Isn't that great news? Well, personally, I thought I was so much wiser because I didn't have my first child until I was 35. So I said, oh man, I've got it, no problem. But I was humbled one day when I was escorting 4 young boys from ages 3 through 8 down a path. It was a jogging, walking, biking path along the reservoir. 2 of them were mine and 2 of them were loaned to me. And you know what that means, right? I'm on extra good vigilance for those 2 that aren't mine, because you never sign a little contract saying, this is the way I parent, you can do it the same way. No, you're just saying, oh man, nothing can happen on my watch. We're doing fine until we got to a little creek that comes under the roadway, and they realized, oh, they can throw a twig on this side, they rush over to the other side, and out it comes. So now they're doing this, and I'm going, oh no, how can I keep track of them? And I'm suddenly aware of a bicycle coming at full speed the other way. It's supposed to be 2 lanes, right? Does a 3-year-old understand 2 lanes when he's just tossed a twig in on this side? And so I swoop over, grab Devin, out of the way, the bike goes by, and I put him down. My heart is racing, and I say, don't do that. I'm really angry. And Evan, the 8-year-old, says, Dad, why are you mad at Devin? He didn't do anything. Sure enough, he didn't do anything. He was just being the kid, right? It was not me. I wasn't mad at him, actually. I was mad at me. I was fearful in that moment. Oh, my God, what could have happened? Isn't it funny how then it's translated into an apparent anger that I'm sure for Devin, he was like frightened that I swooped him up. Of course, we turned back. We hadn't gotten very far anyway. But I said, we're going back. Ducks in a row. Everyone, follow me. So the son says, Father says, watch where you walk. And the son is smart like my son was and said, oh, no, you watch where you're walking because I'm following you. And whatever you do, watch out. Especially with words, if you haven't noticed. Kids are very good at saying exactly the wrong word that you never expected they heard coming out of your mouth at the wrong time with the biggest voice in the universe. Well, I had been working on a book on unconditional love by Greg Bear. It's called Real Love and Parenting, a little bit later. And so I had to tell my 2 college-age sons that I had messed up in raising them. I had done my best. I didn't beat them mercilessly. When they were little, I gave them a few swats on the, big pamper diaper thing, just to get their attention. But I decided to do it differently. But I realized I was just messing up in my own new ways. So they're college age, and I said, look, I messed up. I'm going to do the best I can. I realize now there's only one job I have to do. I just have to love you no matter what. That unconditional love is what real love is about, those series of books by Greg Bear. And it's what we are also taught here, that says that God so loved his children, he loved them and gave them all the freedom in the world. Even if that freedom meant that they might leave home, go and mess up, and then come back with nothing. You have to allow that possibility. There was a book talking about the prodigal son, and he said that you have to be prepared for your children to leave. And if you're not prepared for that, then when they do leave, it's going to feel like a big heartbreak, like something they've done to you. But it's not. It's just part of their journey. Khalil Gibran said, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. That's us. Life's longing for itself. That's why we're here today. So there's so much that happens in our proverbial home, and I really like this one quote. Einstein said, the big challenge for humanity is to answer the question, is the universe a friendly place? Because the way we answer that question is how we perceive every interaction. Oh, that person cut me off on purpose. They don't like me. They don't even know you're there, right? How can you have something that is considered wrong when it could just be incompetence? So really, the universe is for us, and that's what we say here at Centers for Spiritual Living. There's only good can come from God. And the way that it shows up is a reflection of how we think about it, how we view and how we believe. So how do we tend the garden at home so that we can see where it goes? So like the trees or the plants, they don't have much choice. The big oak tree drops its acorns, and some of them go a little bit further away because a squirrel or a chipmunk comes and grabs it and takes it over there and plants a new tree. But otherwise, you have these majestic oak that prevent little baby oaks, for the most part, to grow underneath them because they don't get enough nourishment when all of the space has been taken up by the roots of that big old tree. So they, in fact, need help. But we are mobile. And so we get to take all of our roots from home and be able to take it where we want to go, what we want to do. So you all know the analogy that we have from the Science of Mind teaching symbol about there is the seed, and then the soil, which is the law, the way that the world works. And the seed grows in the soil, becomes a plant. But we don't always talk about the fact that then in the fall, just like we have now, all of the seeds are being blown off of the grasses to be sown again downwind from where they are. And of course, every place is downwind from someplace else. So somehow, no matter how I get the weeds out of here, they come back the next year, blown into my yard. But it's also good because it makes variety out there. And we can sow our seeds of good thinking, our seeds of loving, our seeds of thought to help change the way that we view how we got to where we are today. So the grasses don't ever question, their right to spread their seeds. But we're humans, and we sometimes say, is this okay? And we doubt ourselves. Should I be able to do this? I don't think I can do this. No, I'm not good enough. I'll probably just sit this one out. I don't want to go into the choir. I don't want to do whatever I'm going to think, even though my heart wants it. Because somewhere, someone said, well, you're not a very good artist. Or they said, oh, you shouldn't do that. And sometimes we're told this early in our lives. Brene Brown is one of our famous authors in this world. And she has a book called Braving the Wilderness. And in it, she says, belonging is the innate human desire. And because it is so primal, we may try to earn it by fitting in. All right, here's the time when we get to find out. Any of you were the good girl or the good boy at home? I was the middle child, so I was the peacemaker, good boy, right? But there's things that I missed out on. I was kind of jealous of my younger brother who was the rebel. He just, whatever. My older sister, and she is like, when mom was away, she was the mom, so then she got to be the boss. And then we had a whole second family, 3 others, and they, from our point of view, were pampered. They didn't have to do the same amount of chores that we had to do. We had to babysit them. What's the deal here? Okay, I'm good. Okay, I'll do it. I'll stay home tonight. We learned a lot of fun things. But we still want that stable environment. We still want to create the home. And good news, once again, we can do that because we can rewrite any negative past, rewrite our old story, and create our new home, just as we're doing here at the Center for Spiritual Living. It's part of our teaching. We're creating a new home. It might not be our blood family. It might not be the hometown we grew up in. I came from Wyoming, and it's a lot colder up there right now. It's going to be like 1 degree. It's not going to get above freezing. And I said, hallelujah. The wind's not blowing. So creating a new home is always possible, and it's a new day. It's a new dawn. We can start today in creating that new home, and from that new, safe, and supportive place, we can fly. Let's take that into prayer. We recognize that there's only one thing going on. One perfect whole, one universe, one source, one power, one presence. We call it God, we call it good, we call it Buddha nature. By any name, it is everywhere and every when. And since it's everywhere, then it's right here in the sanctuary where we are. It's right online where people are viewing this. It is the entire world and beyond. And so that means it's here with my voice, with your breath, and with our hearts and our homes. And what I know is that our home grows around us as we believe. And as we pour our good and loving and laughter into our lives become holy and wholly good. So this knowing allows us to understand where others are, to have compassion for anything that might come up in our own life, any negative stories that we can finally let go of. So this world is grand. There's a place for it for each of us. Because how could anyone ever tell you that you are less than beautiful? We are all here by divine appointment. It's a rare thing to have a human life. And because of that, we honor that here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Prescott. So I'm grateful for this teaching and for this knowing. And I just send these words into the law, knowing it's already done, whole and complete. And we can anchor that by saying, and so it is. Please rise and join us with